White Sox did a lot of good things in the offseason, and they did a lot of right things as well, and that's the important thing. It's not how many moves you make. It's not the names of the players. It's, do they fit? Do they serve a purpose? And the White Sox were just awful when it came to drawing walks last year in 2019. They finished last in the American League with 370-something walks. But Yasmani Grandal signed a 4-year, $73 million contract in November. And as a switch hitter, he does a little bit of everything. He was fourth in the majors with 109 walks when he was with the Brewers. So the White Sox didn't get a lot of production from their right fielders, the group that combined for 6 home runs and 40 RBIs, but then enter Nomar Mazara, who had 19 homers and 66 RBIs in only 116 games. So they were looking to get a jolt from the designated hitters. The group of DHs hit 17 home runs, so what did they do? They went ahead, they got Edwin Encarnacion, and they hit 34 home runs in 109 games. So that's what you got. The White Sox not only went out and did the moves, but they did the right moves. And then you hear about this guy, Luis. And look, you want to get fancy, call him Luis Robert. But when you call him Louis Robert, that doesn't seem nearly as exciting, right? But he's still one of the game's top prospects. Spent a good portion of 2019 leading off for Winston-Salem in Class A, Double-A Birmingham, and Triple-A Charlotte. He combined for 32 homers at the 3 levels, showcased his speed with 36 stolen bases, and then they agreed to a 6-year, $50 million contract, paving the way for him to be the opening day center fielder. None of this, hokey-pokey would stay in the minor leagues. Yohan Moncada made tremendous strides in 2019. Career highs in batting average. He hit .315, home runs 25, RBIs, placed third in the American League, and averaged as he showcased the skills that made him a very big prospect. He had a .344 batting average, 17 home runs, but his BABIP was over 400. And Andrea happens to think that Moncada might be a bust this year because we're expecting too much, but his batting average, balls in play, over 400. She might have a point there. Jose Abreu may be the most consistent player in all of fantasy sports. 3-year, $50 million deal. He led the White Sox with 33 home runs, made the All-Star team for the 3rd time. He is the mainstay, and he also played 159 games, league leading. The player I like on this team is Eloy. That's right, Eloy Jimenez. I saw him play when I was up in Rochester. He was the visiting team. But I'll tell you, he was 4th in Rookie of the Year voting, showed he could provide power and protection as the number 5 hitter. Spent his rookie season batting 5th, where he hit 15 of his 31 home runs, .254 batting average, 48 RBIs, and in 71 games. I think he's going to be a top 5 Major League Baseball player. Top 5. Encarnacion has hit at least 30 homers in in each of his last 8 years. He's accustomed to batting 3rd, 4th, or 5th, but he does have 39 home runs and 120 RBIs in slightly over 200 games as a number 6 hitter. He's been good in guaranteed rate field, batting .283, 7 homers, 27 RBIs in 32 games. Timmy Anderson, he hit .335 last year. First White Sox since Frank Thomas in 1997 to win the American League batting title. He improved to 95 points in his batting average. Spent most of his time in the number 2 spot, hitting .329 in 277 at-bats. Also was effective as a number 7 hitter, where he batted .325. Where he'll bat remains to be seen. And then you got the left-handed hitting Nomar Mazara, who did most of his damage against right-handers in 2019. He hit .288 with 13 homers, 46 RBIs, and just over 300 at-bats. He only hit .220 with 6 homers in 127 at-bats against lefties. They haven't ruled out finding a platoon partner, but Mazzara has such great baseball instincts that he actually could project a bigger upside. Nick Madrigal, it's not clear. And if the number 4 prospect in the organization is going to join the big team out of spring training. He had success at Winston-Salem, Birmingham, Charlotte, the whole deal. He had 311, 27 doubles, 55 RBIs. He struck out just 16 times. A tremendous defensive player. Keep in mind, Lurie Garcia, if you're thinking of drafting Madrigal, you might as well pick up Lurie Garcia, who is not going to be drafted. Tell you that right now. Not going to be drafted. So there you go. So the White Sox have spent close to $200 million. I'll say it again. $200 million. The Keuchel signing was the most important because it signals the rebuild is over. That's right. The rebuild is over. And the White Sox with Keuchel and Grandal and Encarnacion, I like them. By the way, former ace Carlos Rondon isn't expected back until after the All-Star break. They'll have a surplus of starting pitchers, at least on paper. Keuchel turns 32. He turned 32 January 1st. So it's going to be interesting. Louis Louis Roberts, Nick Madrigal. Holy mackerel. This is going to be quite a team. As I mentioned, Abreu, the staple, probably the most consistent player in Major League Baseball. You can just count on him to get the RBIs and the stolen bases, okay? And that's basically the team. The pitching staff, led by Lucas Giolito. And there are many, including the lovely and talented Bennett Carroll, who's our producer on Sirius Radio, who may be the biggest White Sox fan in the history of White Sox. Giolito will come up with a 3.5 ERA, 1.12 whip, 200 strikeouts, 25 years old. He had a lat injury last year, placed on the 10-day injured list at one point, and it was reported in middle of September that he had to miss the rest of the season. He posted the highest ERA among qualified starters in 2000. Oh, man, I just get so excited. I got to burp. And this is what you're paying for. All right, but still, it's good stuff. The highest the highest ERA among qualified starters, 2018, and then wound up to being an unbelievable pitcher. He reworked his arsenal. He just threw away his sinker, which he threw for the second most often in 2018, cut back on his curveballs, used his fastball and change, swinging strike rate of about 15%, almost double what he had the year before. No reason to think that Giolito will take even one step back. No reason to think that. Dallas Keuchel, Renato Lopez, Dylan Cease. Let me talk about Dylan Cease. It's going to be a very interesting pitcher. It's all about command with Dylan Cease. All about command. So if he can get his act together, Dylan Cease could be a very interesting. He can make a big contribution to this team. He had a hamstring injury last year. His ERA will be a little over 4. I would not go after Dylan Cease in a mixed league. Got a 1.35 ERA, 120 strikeouts. Had a grade A1 mild hamstring strain last year, but it's all about command, and he lacks it right now. So you got to watch him in spring training. So he's just everything is wrong. He doesn't hit the zone. He walks too many batters. The whole thing. Walks, nothing new. Hasn't had a walk rate below 10% in any minor league stop. But his raw stuff is excellent. He's got a fastball that averages around 96. He misses bats. And look, when you look at him, you say pitcher. Then he gets on the mound, and you say timeout. That's Dylan Cease. The closer is Colome. Could be one of the best closers in baseball this year. Maybe one of the best. He's got Kelvin Herrera, Steve Cishek backing him up. Don't worry about it. It's going to be Alex Colome. Gio Gonzalez is there as well, but you know Gio, you know Ronaldo, you know Keuchel. Carlos Rodon will come up in the middle of the year. So for the White Sox, they are 84.5. I'm going over 20-1. I'll take that and a second 20-1 to win the Central Division, and I'll even bet 40-1 to win the World Series. I'm a White Sox fan, but don't tell Ben and Carol.